My name's Logan Bennett, and what I'm about to share might sound unbelievable, but I'm asking you, truly, to listen with an open heart. Just days ago, on July 18th, I died, not metaphorically. I was clinically dead, no heartbeat, no brain signals, nothing. But during those few minutes, something happened that shook me to my soul. It's too important to keep to myself. I met Jesus Christ, yes, the real Jesus. He came to me with a message. One so powerful, so urgent. I haven't been able to sleep since returning. He told me something about August, this exact month we're in right now, that left me stunned. He said it's humanity's final window to choose something extraordinary. And what he revealed about the days ahead. It'll shake you too. Before I dive deeper, I want to ask, where are you watching this from? And have you ever had an experience that completely flipped your view of reality? If you're comfortable, drop your story in the comments. And if what I'm saying connects with something in you, hit the like button so others can find this message. We need to be having this conversation together with open minds and humble hearts. Now, a bit about me, because I get it, this all sounds wild. I'm 23 years old, a senior at Arizona State University majoring in mechanical engineering. My life has always been grounded in logic, formulas, equations, and things you can physically measure. I've never been the spiritual type. Sure, I believed in God, kind of like how you believe in gravity. You know it's there, but it doesn't cross your mind much. I didn't go to church. Religion wasn't part of my daily life. I was focused on what mattered to me then. Grades, internships, figuring out what job I wanted after college. Honestly, I was the guy who needed proof. Show me the data or I wasn't buying it. That Tuesday started off like any other hot summer morning in Phoenix. The kind where it already feels like a furnace the moment you step outside. I remember checking the weather on my phone, triple-digit heat again, no surprise. I grabbed my usual breakfast on the go, a protein bar and one of those canned energy drinks, and headed out to my summer job. I'd been interning on a construction site downtown, helping survey foundation layouts. It was sweaty, hard work, but solid experience. Looked great on my resume, too. I was cruising down the interstate in my old Honda Civic, air conditioning barely working, listening to a podcast about renewable energy innovations. I remember thinking about solar panels and job prospects, not heaven, not death, and definitely not Jesus. Traffic was lighter than usual for a Tuesday morning, and I remember feeling surprisingly good about life. I had just crushed my summer calculus final. Aced it, actually. My supervisor had casually mentioned the possibility of a full-time position once I graduated. For the first time in a long while, it felt like I was finally getting it together. Life felt steady, even predictable. And then, in one blink, everything flipped upside down. I don't remember the crash itself. I learned later that a semi-truck driver had nodded off at the wheel and veered across several lanes. My little Honda never stood a chance. The paramedics told me it was a miracle they managed to pull me out of the wreckage at all. By the time the ambulance reached the ER, my heart had already stopped. More than once. What happened next? I still can't explain it through anything I learned in physics or biology. There was no blackness, no void. Instead, I found myself standing in a place that shattered everything I thought I knew about existence. The first thing I noticed was the light. It wasn't harsh. It wasn't even light in the way we know it. It felt alive, warm, surrounding, and somehow breathing. It didn't seem to come from a sun or a lamp or any source I could point to. It came from everywhere, like the atmosphere itself was made of pure radiance. And the colors, God, the colors. I'm studying engineering. I've spent hours understanding the electromagnetic spectrum, how light bends and behaves. But this was something else. These weren't just hues. They were colors beyond human perception, more vibrant and pure than anything we have on Earth. Our colors back home felt like dull, washed-out versions in comparison. Even the air shimmered. It was like music, but not with notes you hear. This music moved through your chest, your spirit. It felt like joy had a melody, and peace had a rhythm. As I tried to take it all in, I sensed a presence moving closer. Not a figure at first, just this incredible wave of love washing over me. It was like being wrapped in compassion so complete, I almost wept. Then I saw him, He was walking toward me, and somehow I knew immediately who it was. Jesus. He didn't look like any of the pictures or stained glass depictions I'd seen growing up. He appeared to be in his 30s, but there was something eternal in the way he carried himself, like he wasn't bound by time the way we are. His eyes, man, I don't even have the words. They held the entire universe. They were gentle, wise, and filled with a sorrow that seemed to hold every ounce of human pain. But they were also overflowing with a kind of love that stripped me bare. The moment our eyes met, I felt completely seen. Like every secret I'd ever buried, every mask I'd ever worn, gone. I wasn't hiding anymore, and yet I didn't feel exposed. I felt safe, known, loved. And then he spoke. Not with sound, but with a voice that moved straight through my chest. It didn't need ears. It echoed in my soul. Logan, he said, and when he spoke my name, it was like music I'd waited my whole life to hear. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever felt. You've been brought here for a reason, he continued. There are things you must witness, and things you must tell the world before time runs out. I wanted to ask a million questions, but deep down, I knew this wasn't the moment to speak. It was a moment to listen, to witness whatever he had to show me. The love I felt from him was overwhelming, but it came with a sense of urgency that shook me to my core. Something big was happening, and time was running out. The world is entering its final season of grace, Jesus said, his expression growing solemn. August is the last doorway, the final invitation before everything begins to change. Humanity is standing at a crossroads, and most people don't even know it. You have to show them what you're about to see. As he spoke, the space around us began to shift, almost like reality itself was being rewritten. I felt something rest on my shoulder. Not a physical hand, but something far more real than any touch I've ever known. Stay close to me, Logan, he said gently. What you're about to witness won't be easy, but it's essential. They need to understand what's at stake. Then came the pulling sensation, like we were moving through layers of reality. The beauty around us faded, and suddenly, we were somewhere else entirely. The moment I arrived, I understood why his message carried such urgency. Jesus began to show me visions, not vague possibilities or distant prophecies. These were events already set into motion. They were happening now, and everything, he said, begins in August with choices that every person on earth must make. The first vision hit me like lightning. We were above a vast city, but I could see more than just buildings. I could see through the concrete, past the walls, straight into people's hearts. What I saw broke me. Millions were moving through their lives, totally unaware that a spiritual war was raging just beyond their perception. This wasn't symbolic, it was real. I saw actual battles being fought in unseen realms, right in the middle of everyday life. And in that moment, I understood why I was sent back. People have no idea what's happening, and they need to. Dark figures moved among crowds, whispering lies and planting distractions. I saw them twisting truth, feeding confusion, while radiant beings of light fought to pierce through the spiritual blindness clouding so many hearts. Look closely, Logan, Jesus said, sorrow deep in his voice. They've been tricked into thinking this temporary world is all there is. They chase what fades, while ignoring the eternal treasures I've prepared for them. I watched people sprinting through life, consumed by careers, obsessed with social media, clinging to material things. The dark forces fed on their distractions, growing stronger every time someone chose comfort over truth. But what shook me most? How easily they could break free, if they'd only pause and turn their hearts to God, even for a moment. Then Jesus showed me something that challenged everything I thought I knew. He revealed that time doesn't work the way we think. August, he said, isn't just another month. It's a divine convergence, a sacred intersection between spiritual and physical realms, a rare moment when heaven leans close. Every generation gets its appointed moment, he explained. But your generation has been given a window like no other. August has been prepared for awakening, but it requires people to choose. Faith over fear, love over selfishness, eternal purpose over temporary comfort. I saw it then, waves of spiritual energy gathering across the earth, like a divine storm building on the horizon. Not a storm of destruction, but one of grace, of mercy, of heaven moving. And just like any storm, preparation mattered. Those spiritually ready would experience it as breakthrough. But those caught off guard? They'd be overwhelmed. Then came the second vision. I saw a living timeline stretching from August into the future. Shifting, bending, reacting. It wasn't set in stone, it changed based on the decisions people were making right now. Free will, Jesus said, reading my thoughts. Humanity holds the pen to write what happens next. What unfolds after August depends entirely on how people respond to the invitation I've given them now. I saw two paths stretching out from August, completely different futures branching from the same moment. The first was radiant, full of light, overflowing with hope. On this path, I witnessed a massive spiritual awakening sweeping across the globe. People everywhere were turning back to God. Families were being restored, broken communities were finding healing. Even nations were beginning to walk in peace. It was breathtaking, a world renewed by divine love. But then came the second path, and it was heartbreaking. This one was wrapped in darkness. Humanity kept rejecting God's invitation, choosing selfish desires over eternal truth. The result was chaos, confusion, division, and a spiritual fog that seemed to smother everything in its path. The choice is theirs, Jesus said, and his eyes held both endless compassion and deep sorrow. I'm calling to every heart. I'm knocking on every door. I'm reaching out to every soul, but I will never force myself in. They must choose. And what hit me hardest wasn't just the contrast between the two futures. It was realizing these aren't distant outcomes. They're being shaped right now, in real time, by the choices people are making today. Every person who opens their heart to God this month helps move the world toward that path of light. And every person who keeps shutting him out is contributing to the darker future. Then Jesus showed me something deeply personal. He revealed that my crash wasn't random. It was no accident, it was a divine setup, an intentional moment to bring me face to face with him, right on time. Logan, he said, your analytical mind, your hunger for logic and proof, those aren't weaknesses. They're tools I gave you. The world needs someone like you, someone who can speak spiritual truth in a language skeptics understand. Someone who can connect reason and faith. That's when it hit me. My entire life, my love for engineering, my problem-solving mindset, even my past doubts, had been training for this moment. God didn't make a mistake choosing me. He chose me because I could reach people who think like I used to think. Then Jesus gave me a third vision, and this one carried a sense of urgency like nothing else. I saw a spiritual harvest beginning to rise in August. But the window for gathering was short. It looked like fields full of ripe crops. But the season was shifting quickly. If the harvest wasn't brought in fast, it would be lost. Many of my children have been praying for revival, for awakening, for a fresh move of my spirit, Jesus said. Those prayers are about to be answered. But the harvest needs workers, people willing to step out of their comfort zones and share my love. I saw opportunities opening up everywhere. Chances for conversations about faith, for random kindness, for moments that could shift someone's life. But just as clearly, I saw how easily those moments could slip by unnoticed. People too distracted, too wrapped up in their own worries to recognize the divine appointments unfolding around them. Everyone had a part to play. Some were meant to preach boldly, to proclaim truth in crowded places. Others were called to serve quietly, through compassion, through simple love in action. And many were intercessors, behind the scenes, praying with passion for what was coming. But no one was left out. Not one person was unqualified. It didn't matter how young, how old, how broken, or how new to faith they were. God wasn't looking for perfection. He was searching for willing hearts. As the visions continued, the weight of it all began to hit me. This wasn't just about individuals finding salvation, though that mattered deeply. This was about the direction of human history itself being shaped by the choices we make now. Jesus looked at me with eyes full of love and trust. Logan, he said, I'm giving you this message because time is short, and the stakes are higher than most people realize. August is humanity's final invitation. Revival or judgment, awakening or slumber, life or death. After this month, the spiritual climate will shift, and the opportunities that exist right now won't return in your lifetime. I felt the responsibility settle over me like a heavy coat. Just weeks ago, I was thinking about job applications and exam scores, and now, I was being asked to carry a message that could impact eternity for millions. It almost crushed me. But then, Jesus placed his hand over my heart, and warmth flooded my entire being. Not just comfort, strength, courage, absolute certainty. In that moment, every doubt I'd ever had about God vanished. Every question about life's meaning, every fear of death, gone. In the presence of perfect truth, everything else simply dissolved. Here's your next section, rewritten for clarity, flow, and emotional power, while trimming it slightly for size. "Do not be afraid, Logan," Jesus said. His voice had a power in it, a calm authority that felt like it could hold the entire universe together. "I will give you the words. I will open the hearts that need to hear. Your part is simple. Be faithful with what I've shown you." Then he revealed the fourth vision, the most decisive one yet. It showed what happens to those who respond to his call in August, and what happens to those who don't. The difference was staggering. It left no room for indifference. I saw people who opened their hearts to God this month being filled with a supernatural kind of peace and joy. It didn't matter what challenges they faced. Their hope stayed unshaken. They became like living lighthouses, drawing others to truth through the transformation in their lives. Even in suffering, they glowed with a quiet strength that came straight from heaven. But then I saw the others, those who kept ignoring God's voice. They stayed caught up in their own ambitions, their own distractions. Slowly, steadily, a deep spiritual darkness crept in. It wasn't punishment. It was the natural result of rejecting the very source of light. Their hearts hardened. Their minds became confused. And inside, they began to feel empty, even if their lives looked successful on the outside. "This is why August matters so much," Jesus said. "Right now, the atmosphere makes it easier than ever for people to hear me, to feel me, to choose eternal life. But once this window closes, that clarity will fade. The hardness of heart that has plagued mankind will return, and the path to me will feel harder to find." Then came the fifth vision, and it was both breathtaking and deeply sobering. I saw the moment when God's patience finally reached its limit. Not in rage, but in resolve. It wasn't revenge. It was simply the outcome of people receiving what they'd chosen all along. Those who had lived only for themselves, who'd rejected his love, were allowed to continue down that path, without him. But those who had turned to him during this final season of grace, they were brought into a realm of joy so intense, so filled with peace and beauty, that even the heavenly place I had been standing in moments before seemed dim by comparison. Here's the final section, rephrased with clarity, emotional power, and a natural narrative voice, while staying tightly faithful to your original. "Every person alive right now is making an eternal decision," Jesus said, and in his eyes I saw both boundless mercy and unwavering justice. Some choose me knowingly, others drift by unaware, but even that is a choice. No one stands neutral when it comes to eternity. As the visions faded, I found myself back in that radiant place where this encounter had started. But now I understood it wasn't time for me to stay, not yet. There was work to do, a message to deliver. Jesus looked at me with eyes that saw everything. Every challenge, every conversation, every moment I'd face once I returned. "When you go back, Logan, some will believe right away. Others will laugh, some will say you're delusional, that trauma scrambled your brain. Don't let that shake you. Just plant the seeds of truth I've given you, and let me water the hearts ready to receive them." He paused, and I could feel the weight of the world reflected in his gaze. Remember, I too was mocked, rejected, called crazy. If they treated the master that way, they'll treat the messenger no differently. But for every skeptic, there will be someone whose heart is ready. Focus on those. Speak to the ones whose eyes light up with recognition when you tell them what you've seen. Then he gave me clear, practical instructions: what to tell people, how they should respond during this rare and urgent moment in time. Tell them that prayer in August carries unusual power, he said. The spiritual atmosphere has been primed. Encourage bold prayers, prayers for the impossible, for loved ones who feel too far gone. This is the time when even the hardest hearts will begin to soften, but someone must pray for them to open. He also emphasized the power of unity. My people have been scattered, isolated, walking solo paths. But this is a time for gathering, for worshiping together in ways they've never experienced before. When they unite in my name this month, my presence will meet them in powerful, unexpected ways. I felt our time together drawing to an end. And I'll be honest, the thought of leaving his presence crushed me. The peace, the love, the deep knowing that I was fully seen and still fully accepted. How could I ever return to a world full of pain and noise? But he knew, of course he knew. This separation is only temporary, Logan, Jesus said gently. And you won't return alone. My spirit will be with you. He'll strengthen you, remind you of everything you've seen. And when the world feels too dark, remember this place. Remember this moment and never forget. Victory has already been won. As he spoke, I felt the pull again, like being drawn back to somewhere distant. The light dimmed, the colors faded, the music quieted, and his presence slowly began to recede. Go now, my faithful witness, he said, his voice still strong, though fading. Tell them I love them, more than they can possibly imagine. Tell them August is their moment, their opportunity, their last, best chance to choose life over death, light over darkness, eternity with me, or eternity without me. Tell them I'm waiting, I'm calling, and my arms are wide open to anyone who will come. The last thing I saw was his smile, so full of love, so filled with confidence and hope, it engraved itself into my very soul. Then, everything turned white, then black, and then I gasped for breath. I was lying in a hospital bed. Machines were beeping. Nurses were frozen, staring at me like they'd seen a ghost. Some had tears in their eyes. The room was spinning, but I was alive. And I knew this was just the beginning. Here's your final section, rewritten with a clear, heartfelt voice that wraps the story in a powerful spiritual call to action, while aligning perfectly with the tone and purpose of the full message. Coming back to the physical world was a shock. My body ached in ways I didn't know were possible. The hospital lights felt harsh and unforgiving. The beeping machines, the loudspeaker announcements, the chaos. It all clashed violently with the peace I had just experienced. But even harder than the pain was the weight now resting on my soul. I had seen eternity. I had spoken with Jesus. I had been given a message that could change lives, maybe even save them. How do you carry that? How do you put into words something that's beyond language, beyond science, beyond imagination? The doctors called my recovery a miracle. By all accounts, I should have been paralyzed. Or worse, but not only was I alive, I was healing fast. They ran every test they could think of, trying to make sense of what had happened. But I already knew. God had sent me back for a reason, and he wasn't about to let anything stop that mission. Now here we are, already days into August. The clock is ticking on the window Jesus showed me. The time to act is now. I don't know who you are, what you believe, or what you've been through, but I know this, you didn't find this message by accident. God wanted you to hear it. This moment, right now, is a divine appointment between your soul and his voice. Maybe you've been distant from God. Maybe you've been hurt, angry, or too distracted to notice him reaching out. Maybe life has just been too loud, too painful. Whatever your story is, know this, Jesus isn't mad at you. He's not waiting to shame or punish you. He's waiting to hold you, to forgive you, to walk with you into a future filled with purpose, healing, and hope. The choice is in your hands. August is your moment. This is your open door, maybe the last one of its kind. Don't let it close while you stand on the sidelines. Don't look back someday and wish you had answered the call when you still had time. I've done what I was asked to do. I've shared what I was shown. Now it's your turn. Will you brush this off as the dream of a shaken college student? Or will you consider, just for a moment, that maybe, just maybe, the God who formed the stars is calling your name right now? Because he is, and time is running out. If you've listened this far, it means something is stirring inside you. Don't ignore it. That feeling in your heart? That's not coincidence, that's the Spirit. So I'm asking you, respond. Pray, repent, say yes to him right now. This isn't just about religion. This is about eternity. If this message moved something in you, write Amen or the name of your country in the comments. I want to see how far this message is traveling. Subscribe so we stay connected. Share this with 3 people you love. Let the light keep spreading. The time is short. The door is open. Let's step through it together.